Turn me up a little bit, or just a little bit more. I got a message that I want to send across the world. Listen, baby.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's good to be back. I just had a vacation with the family, my side of the family. We had a great time, and the challenge going into the vacation, as I'm sure a lot of you guys have going into a vacation, am I going to work? And if so, how much? If so, how much am I going to work? I did a bunch in advance before I went on vacation so that I could cover the time that I was gone, but it required me to monitor it during the course of the vacation. And that was easier said than done, because when you're on vacation, you don't have access to all of the things. The internet is not as fast. You don't have your mouse. You don't have this and that. So it was a little bit slower than it would normally be. It took a lot more time than it normally would. But the way it played out was that I was basically up late into the night getting things ready for the next day, and then I would sleep. But because I have young kids, they take a nap. So if I'm not awake very early, it very quickly gets to noon, and then they take a nap at 1. And so now it gets to like 3, 4 o'clock. So you basically miss, like if you're not awake early in the morning, I'm clocking in for dad duty at noon, which is really like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. And to be honest, after several days of that, I started to feel very guilty about how much of this vacation I'm missing, how much of this family time I'm missing. And it wasn't from anything that anybody said or did. Nobody that I can think of said or did anything to make me feel this way. I just felt this way. It's kind of like the guilt that you place on yourself. So I placed this guilt on myself for missing such a huge chunk of the days during this vacation. But, you know, when I was there, I made a point to be there, to try and make the most of that actual time. Well, interestingly enough, the thought occurred to me after walking around with this guilt for like several days. The thought occurred to me, what's happening? And I started to give it some more thought. And I said, you know, it's kind of a catch-22, because I'm in a situation right now where my wife is going into business for herself. And so I am the one working right now. And I'm here with my parents who are retired. So I literally am the only one working right now. And this was cemented by my dad when we were talking about when we planned to leave to come back home. And he said, well, you guys are busier than us, so you guys let us know. And I'm like, that's right. We're like in the prime of life with 2 young children, and I'm still working, and they're retired. And my wife is actually not working right now. It's me. It's me. So I'm like, I'm walking around with the guilt of not having the time and energy to spend that my retired parents or my children or my wife who's in a transition. I'm walking around with the guilt of not having the time that they have, and carrying that guilt into the work that is supporting the activities that we're all able to be engaged in. And I'm like, what is it that I need to do to either try and free my mind to be okay with the sacrifices that I understandably have to make in order to enable all the things that everybody wants to do, or establish some boundaries. And I think this is probably the right answer, to establish some boundaries of work-life balance, to where I can spend the time that allows me to feel okay, where I can then go back and work guilt-free. Because having to take that anxiety and that mental anguish into the work means I'm not going to do my best work there either. And that's the one place where I do need to make sure that I'm good and I'm 100 and not bringing that baggage into the actual work. So, work-life balance is such a tricky thing, because I'm also happen to be very cheap, so I'm not somebody that spends a lot. In fact, I'm one of those people, when I turn like 60, 65, God willing, maybe even that might be too late. Maybe I might have to do it at 50. I'm just going to have to start doing stuff, because I've just been stacking for way too long. I just been stacking and stacking and stacking. And I'm like, bro, you just going to work and stack and then just hand it over to your kids without being able to enjoy yourself, and then feeling guilty that you didn't get to spend more time. Like that, you victimize yourself in this litany of ways. But I'm like, I drive the same car that I've had for 10 plus years, that I bought when I was in a completely different phase of life, and my resources was far less than what I have now. I drive that same car. I don't just buy stuff. I don't like buy a lot of luxury things. So I'm like, all of this work that I'm doing funnels just right back into the family, directly into the family. So there's this assumption of selfishness that comes from my drive to work. And that's not to dismiss that as if there isn't any ego involved. There definitely is probably some ego involved, and some identification with what you do and how successful or not successful you are. That's its own thing and its own video to be worked out. So I'm not saying that there's no aspect of me in it, but the fruits of all of that are literally just going directly to the family. But I feel such guilt in taking the sacrifices in order to gain them. It's such a push-pull, because I'm like, I'm taking away time but adding value that's going right back to the folks that the time is being taken away from. It's obviously going to be an ongoing process. I can't say that I have necessarily answers right now, but I did want to sit and just acknowledge being gone for that amount of time, but still unable to work out a level of mental freedom for myself. And I would say that if I would have taken a different tack to vacation, say like completely cut off work, that would have been very difficult as well. There'd have been a lot of anxiety about all that I'm sacrificing and coming back. That we can continue to do things like this. Continue to enjoy experiences like we did. So, and I'm at the beginning of it, which is probably good. This is probably good. I'm going to try and find the silver linings, that I am at the beginning of it, which means that if we can work these things out and establish some good, firm boundaries, right, then I can take that with me and be able to utilize those tools for a substantive period of time. And I do mean substantive, because I think I'm at like -4 months with the third one. We still got 4 months of pregnancy left. So clock ain't even started on that one. And you wonder why I'm driven. It's not purely that. There's definitely some genetics involved in that as well. I take a lot of this from my mother. She was driven exactly how I'm driven. My grandfather was driven exactly how I'm driven. There's some genetics involved in that for sure. But, you know, people talk about, you know, people's drive to work. But ain't nobody offering to support these kids. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, you gonna help me with in any event, I appreciate all you guys' thoughts and all your contributions, especially on this channel. But I am indeed back. It is the a maelstrom of a month in August. I'm sure I'll post a video all about that as well, about all we've dealt with in August. But I am on the back end of it, and we have made it through. And so I have to have a lot of gratitude about that. In addition to the awareness of everything that I was thinking while I was on vacation and processing it in a way that can be helpful.
I got a message that I want to send across the world. Listen.